Hi, my name is Gordy Hogue, and this is Community Connection. Each of us have stories that help us understand each other and help to bring our community closer together. I have been very fortunate to have met many interesting people who have had a positive, profound impact on our community and far beyond. People who have had incredible life experiences and fascinating stories. Community Connections is about these people and about their stories. I'm sure you'll enjoy meeting these amazing people as much as I have. Thank you. Please enjoy. Welcome to Community Connections. Our guest today is a dynamic, positive, bubbly contributor to our community. And she's a woman who's on the forefront of the fastest growing sport in our community, in our province, and indeed around the world. It's growing so wonderfully well, contributing to the health and connections of people within our community. I'm delighted to welcome Debbie Lawrance. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you so much, Gordy. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, it's a delight to have you here. Can you talk to us a little bit about where you grew up and how you eventually came to this community? And then we can move into some of the things that you found and contributed to in this community.
Absolutely, I'd love to. So I was born and raised in Vancouver, third generation. My grandparents and great-grandparents were some of the founding business pioneers of Vancouver, and so deeply rooted there. And in the late 80s, decided to move out to South Surrey and start a new life with a little bit larger property, and ultimately ended in Panorama Ridge for a couple of decades with a larger property with a pool and a view and all those things. And then it was time to move to White Rock. And that was about 5 years ago, when we decided to sell our home in Panorama Ridge and buy a place in the Palm Springs in the desert for winters in the desert, and a place in White Rock for summers at the beach. And that was the intent of our retirement goal, if you will.
And a little bit about your work life and the contributions that makes to who you are and the things you're engaged in now.
Absolutely. Well, I did work at the Vancouver Cancer Centre for over 3 decades and finished my career off at the Healthcare Union of British Columbia, HU. And so that through those experiences, actually, I had ample opportunity to take courses, facilitate workshops, basically really grow through opportunities, if you will, for growth and leadership and all of those things. So it was an awesome experience overall. In addition to working at the Cancer Centre and through those other opportunities, I did have some part-time businesses. I ran a home-based jewelry business for 20 years, which brought me into people's homes, and also a travel agent, independent consultant for a couple of decades as well. Still dabble in that a little bit at this time. And that was another thing that kept me traveling around the world and meeting people and exposed to people and public speaking and all of those things that just really help you stay engaged in life at a level that is constantly stimulating, to say the least. And so I feel very blessed and thankful for all of those opportunities. And then I decided to dabble a little bit, all in politics. I don't dabble in anything. I commit to everything pretty well, wholeheartedy and 100%. Through about a decade of being involved in politics, in addition to those things I mentioned. By the way, I ran as a provincial member of legislature. And so through the building up to that, I was on the City of Surrey committees, such as the Multicultural Advisory Committee and the Social Policy Advisory Committee, and the Diversity Board of Directors. I was a president of the East Panorama Ridge Community Association for my community, and so on. I could spend the next 30 minutes telling you all the things I've done. As you well know, Gordy, it's an active lifestyle when we start engaging in the political road. So again, I feel thankful for all those experiences.
Well, you bring an amazing amount of energy and excitement to everything you do. And I think when you walk into a room, you seem to lift up the energy and make people feel so good about themselves. And I'm sure that that was an important part of the contributions you made and the dynamic personality you have that you bring to those types of meetings and the contributions you talk about.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm moved by your words. So I'll keep my emotions down, but that's very kind of you to speak from your heart, and I appreciate that. So who to thank it that all those experiences would lead me to the present day of pickleball? Because what I feel is they provided me a great foundation to be able to take a lot of those experiences and skill building to help be a leader in the community within some degree. Of course, there's so many other people out there I'll talk a little bit about, but that just helped me be the mentor, a leader, and basically contributing to the sport as best that I can on my level. And so, you know, within small doses. So again, I feel grateful that I was able to bring those things to the table now and apply them to pickleball. So if you told me 5 years ago, when I just first was basically exposed to this sport, that this is where I'd be at, eating, living, and breathing pickleball every day, playing 7 days a week, and learning to be a referee and being a certified instructor for beginners and volunteering our time in the schools and so on and so forth, all volunteer all in the name of pickleball, I would have never believed it.
And you've made reference to Chuck Lefebvre, and I've met him as well, and you pay homage to him for the great work he did in initiating and introducing pickleball to our community.
Excuse me, 100%. And that's my perfect lead-in story as to how I was introduced. I mean, we had a place in Palm Springs, as mentioned, and so I'd seen it. You know, in our particular complex, we had pickleball courts, and I watched it. You know, one of those beginning people that looks at, what is that? What are those little paddles? I played tennis as a kid, right? So that looks peculiar and interesting, but oh well, I don't think I'm very interested in that. And came home, and then a friend of mine was telling me, a dear friend from high school days, was saying, you've got to try it, Debbie, you'll love it. And, you know, I just thought, well, what is it again? And kind of stayed back for a little bit and thought, I have a full life, I don't need anything else. And then I was walking by North Bluff Road one day, and I looked into the Centennial tennis courts, and there were people playing pickleball. Pardon me. And so I stood and watched behind the fence. I thought, okay, I'm going to watch and see what this game is all about. Is it hard? Is it easy? Can I do it? Does it feel welcoming? You know, all those things that we, when we're new to something, question. And this lovely gentleman walked across the courts and came over to me, standing at the fence like a little girl looking in, what's going on in here? And of course, it was the wonderful, pardon me, wonderful Chuck Lefebvre. And he was so kind and warm and welcoming and enthusiastic. Sorry about my throat. Can you edit all that out?
Oh, we want it to be the real you.
Oh, great. And there he is with a warm heart and enthusiasm. And he says, you know, introduces himself obviously, and says, would you like to learn to play? And I said, well, I'd love it, but how do I do it? He said, well, come on in. We'll provide a free paddle. We'll give you a free lesson, and we'd love to have you join us. How about tomorrow? And I went, tomorrow? Okay. And so the next day I showed up, and Chuck walked me through it and showed me some basics of the game. And he was so respectful, dedicated, passionate, inspiring, that truly anybody in their right mind would have been a fool to walk away without that kind of genuine welcoming and passion for pickleball. It was extraordinary. And the rest is history, as they say. But one of the things about Chuck that I had the honor of being involved in was a contribution in organizing his retirement party and his retirement from BC Pickleball Association, which I'll talk a little bit about more later on, and just seeing the support and the numbers of people that he'd inspired to get involved in the leaps and bounds that he grew this sport with. They're just phenomenal. Truly one of the, I feel, the founding fathers of the sport in the schools and the recreation center in South Surrey, White Rock area, not to mention the things he's done provincially and nationally as well. So Chuck, I'm a fan.
I think we're all fans. Anyone who's met him and his wife and the work that he does, he's just a remarkably positive guy who just, despite some of the challenges he's had with his health, the great contributions he continues to make.
Exactly, and plods forward.
Right.
There he is. So actually that's a good segue into the fact that there are plenty of opportunities, to get involved at the local, provincial, and national levels. And, we know that Surrey and White Rock is a hotspot for the ever-growing sport of pickleball. So that's very easy to find those things. The numbers are growing rapidly. BC Pickleball Association, that has numbers of registered members, has grown by 20 to 30% in the last couple of years. So they're at 6,600 registered, but I'm sure that double, maybe triple numbers that aren't registered for BC Pickleball. So that's exciting. It's very exciting. And of course, the game is played in outdoor courts and in community centers. And, I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but lots of opportunity. So fun and fitness seem to be the initial attraction with this. People at all walks and all stages of life like to have fun and hopefully are inspired to stay as fit as they can. And what's great about pickleball is you can come in at any level, any age, and just modify it to whatever you're comfortable with. And paddles, you can get a paddle, you can borrow it from a friend, or you can buy a paddle for about $30 to $40 at a starting price. And it's a game that basically uses the courts and recreation facilities that are already in existence. So there should be, in theory, enough opportunity for people to play. But with the how expedited the growth is, we're finding that a lot of these places are already filling up for space. The recreation centers get booked up, and the courts are often full. So we need to stay progressive with this sport and continue to build and continue to provide ample opportunities and accessibility for people to play the sport. So it's really important that our politicians and people, that the decision makers are listening to the needs and seeing the needs of this sport. So we'll see how that goes in the future. But they are building what I would call purpose-built and dedicated pickleball courts in nearby cities of Surrey and Delta and Ladner and so on and so forth, and all over. And so that's progress, because right now, in many cases, we're shared courts with other sports, tennis, for example, which is fine, absolutely. But these dedicated pickleball courts are something that there is a need for, and people are investing, and governments are investing in those. So speaking of which, there's one particular club in Vernon, a private club, that they have, I guess they have pretty deep pockets, because they just raised $1 million to be able to put a bubble over their existing 12 dedicated purpose-built pickleball courts in Vernon. Is just one example of the enthusiasm out there. And of course, it's a smaller paddle that people use. Small paddle, light paddle, if you will, if you want, and light balls. So it makes it the sport itself makes it very easy, and the learning curve is quite simple. For the most part, someone can learn the very basics of a game. Hopefully they'll bring some YouTubing exposure to the courts, but they can learn the very basics of the game, as BC Pickleball estimates to be about 15 or 20 minutes. So that just gets you hitting the ball across the court and understanding the lines and the kitchen line and all these terms that are unique to pickleball.
What size do you need to have a court? Right.
So I don't have the exact numbers for a court, but what I can tell you that makes it easy for people to understand is that in a tennis court itself, you can fit approximately 4 pickleball courts in one tennis court. Wow. So that gives you an idea, which actually typically you can put 16 times, or I just have to refer to my notes, put as many as 16 times the players on the court per hour than tennis in a typical example. So that gives you, kind of an idea. 95% of the pickleball games are doubles, and game times average about 15 minutes.
Where does the name pickleball come from? It seems like a...
I knew you were going to ask. Well, legend has it, you can Google it, but legend has it that, of course, it started in Bainbridge, Washington in 1965. A couple of people founding names off, not off the top of my head, but they started on their property, and apparently they had a dog named Pickles, and the ball went over, and Pickle got the ball, and so on. So whether it's folklore or whether it's the true story, one will have to interpret their own based on Google.
Is that Washington State right next to us?
Yes, correct. Just I think it's south of Seattle, in that area. So the players are generally evenly dispersed between men and women, which is, and you know, when we play tournaments and so on and so forth, you can play doubles, mixed doubles, you know, women only, men only, and so on and so forth. So lots of opportunity to really fit in your wheelhouse and your comfort zone, what works best for you.
What are the age groups that are mostly participating in?
Good question.
At this point?
About 80% of existing players are estimated to be over 50. So
is that in Canada or our community or both?
Let's just talk about Canada, because okay. I've spent some time talking to the brilliant people with BC Pickleball Association, Walter Knecht. If I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Walter, I apologize. And Tony Casey with you know, Pickleball Canada organization. So any of this sort of things that I refer to are, let's just talk Canada, because the US and international may have different numbers. Speaking of Pickleball Canada, they do have a lot of youth initiatives underway. So that's the idea, is to get more youth involved. And when you do tournaments and everything, they do have age categories, you know, so, but the existing players, they say about 80% are over 50 at this time. But it's not your grandparents' sport, which is the myth that we're trying to kibosh. It's multi-generational at this point. Gordy, you can go any day to the nearby courts and you can see grandparents playing with their children and their grandchildren. It's just amazing. You've got these little tykes and their moms in their 30s or 40s, and their parents and the kids' grandparents into their 60s. So it's truly a family sport in many ways. So it's obviously part of an active lifestyle and your personal fitness, which adds great value to your quality of life. Building social connections, right? I mean, it's just unbelievable. I didn't think I needed social. Yeah. When someone said this is very social, I thought, oh, okay, that's nice. I just want to get some exercise. Well, I have formed friendships and long-lasting deep friendships and met some very caring people that, because they're so much a part of our everyday, you bond with them in a way that is truly extraordinary, with that common thread of pickleball. So you start out talking about how your game is and how your serve is, and, you know, skill building and focus, and are you playing in this tournament and that tournament, and you're going international with your tournaments, to playing in the desert in Arizona and the UK or wherever you end up. And before you know it, you're talking about your heartbreak and your pain, and you've got a kind soul there listening to you, that when you need a friend in that moment, or you're sharing the joys of the love and the things that inspire you and make you happy. So it's a beautiful thing. I mean, that's my take on it. Someone else may just get in there and play the game and that's it. But that's been some of the unexpected rewards of this game, is the social connections, the sense of community, the building of community, and not to mention all the economic driver that it is.
Yeah, sport has a long tradition of being a great connector, a great impetus for social change and learning, and obviously for health and well-being as well. And
absolutely. And, you know, as we like to say in the Pickleball Canada, Pickleball BC, and local world, it's a sport for life and for all. So that's truly the beauty of it. It's becoming very popular internationally. Now, all of those international games are all governed by the International Federation of Pickleball. And we do, those of us that have hopes and dreams for where this is going in the world, we do hope to one day have it at the Olympic level. So fortunately, Gordy, we have some amazing movers and shakers, if you will. building this community behind the scenes. Tony Casey with Pickleball Canada, as I mentioned, Walter Necht, and our local Surrey Pickleball Club, Ken Nolan, which I'll talk about in a moment. But these gentlemen are high level, competent, skilled, articulate, and visionaries. And so they're taking the things that the grassroots that Chuck did and taking that and building upon it to really bring this to the level with some goals that are above and beyond. And the one thing about, there's a lot of things that I could talk about that. I'll get back to that. But it really is an economic generator. How's my time, Gordy?
Oh, I think we've got probably another 5 to 8 minutes in that range.
Okay. I'll prioritize. Players are moving to communities where there's courts. They're vacationing in communities where there's pickleball courts. They're going on pickleball cruises. Wow. And I know what some cruise lines offer pickleball. And obviously taking tours to various destinations where pickleball is being, played, and there's options for that. And certainly I know for me, when I'm thinking about where I'm going to make sure there's some courts there to play, because when it's such a big part of your life and your fitness, you want to make sure the opportunity is there. So fortunately, there's plenty of people that are making sure that it's offered. Skill building clinics for people. You can start out at the basic level and build from there. There's courses and clinics offered pretty well almost anywhere.
Well, what is the cost to participate? Is it, I'm assuming it, I don't know how much it costs, but.
Right, very good point, very good question. So it is a very inexpensive sport to play. For example, in White Rock Pickleball, we have about 250 community members. It's free. Because they're public courts, and there's a core group of volunteers that run that particular community, and they just need their pickleball paddle and that's it. They're ready to go. Surrey Pickleball, so there's recreation centers that have the recreation included. Some of them have drop-in fees, some of them it's the seniors rate, the pickleball might be included. So varying options to play there in terms of cost. The Surrey Pickleball Club, as one example, local, that's just a stellar club and headed up by a group of volunteers. It's a nonprofit. It was registered as a nonprofit society in 2019. And the 5 to 7 people are on the board and a whole slew of volunteers. They have a membership of $30 a year. And it includes an opening tournament and just support for opportunities for skill building clinics and just so many things. Actually, I'm just going to make sure I don't miss anything, because that's the membership there. Pre-COVID peaked at 319 paid members for $30 a season. And so they've got some real movers and shakers in there as well. And they run clinics by world-renowned professionals. And they also participate in the City of Surrey's Sports Advisory Committee. Oh. So they're amazing.
So you mentioned professionals. Are there professional pickleball players?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness. It's not quite the level that we need it to be in terms of prize money, but it's getting there, and sponsorship and, all of those things are all out there. It's really ramped up the levels. And that's one of the things with Pickleball Canada is actually one of their goals is to, so the numbers and diversity and achievements of Canadians playing pickleball will steadily increase as Pickleball Canada thrives as a world-class national sports organization. So that's the goal there. And they have, purpose and core values and their sport development goals that are aligned with their purpose and core value and vision. They have the introduction to pickleball, recreational, competitive, high performance, and pickleball for development.
So if you compare the number of pickleball participants in British Columbia with the rest of Canada, are we equal?
25%.
25%. Wow.
And Pickleball Canada's registered members are about 22,000. So again, and by registered, we mean members, paid members. Costs $2.50 to become a member of BC Pickleball Association, and $5 for Pickleball Canada. But most of those fees are included in, for example, example, the Surrey Pickleball Club, their $30 membership also includes the members with BC Pickleball and Pickleball Canada. So it's minimal money to join, and it's well worthwhile because you just have so much opportunity. For example, when I went to England to play in the tournament last year, I found out about that through the BC Pickleball Association's email network. So it's just opportunities. And there's a seniors tournament planned for next year in Crescent Beach area. And that's going to put us on the national map as well. And Surrey Pickleball Club and people, volunteers through that, I believe, are all organizing it. And it's just, it creates so much opportunity for travel, for social, and for just quality of life. It's awesome. Can you tell I'm a fan?
I can tell you're a fan. And it sounds, as you're describing it, that it's almost something you can play for life, that it contributes to your health and your well-being and your social connectedness, all of those things. And certainly our community prides itself on the contributions that we can each participate and make, and the quality of life that we have here. And pickleball certainly contributes to the quality of life of our community. And you made reference to the economic impacts as well. And I'm sure that there are many people who are decision makers around what should be built in terms of recreation facilities that will be aware of that and need to have that reinforced for them. The fact that BC has 25% of the pickleball players in Canada, that we're leading our country in that way, and certainly our communities are leading the way in our province. So
absolutely, pickleball tourism,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Just going to make sure that I've said everything I need to say. I do have a little bit of a summary, but anything else you can think of, Gordy?
No, I think that you've covered it beautifully, and if you've got a bit of a summary that ties all that together, I'm delighted to hear that.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you again for this opportunity, and I really want to. I hope that I've inspired people to go on to the BC Pickleball website. They can Google that. I've got it handy, but I can follow up with that later if anybody wants to contact BC Pickleball. Just Google it, Pickleball Canada, and get the information that you need to get this started. So I guess in closing, when someone says to you, hey, why don't you try pickleball? I would encourage you to pay heed, because truly you may be surprised at how life-changing it can be for you. And you can go in at your own level and not be intimidated. And for the most part, find a welcoming and inclusive environment with pickleball enthusiasts that really just want to share the love of the sport. And so you will find people like myself and many others that will take you under their wing and just support your journey. And I do encourage you to go ahead with that. It, of course, will enhance the quality of your life and your health, which is super, even if whatever level you want to take that to, whether it just means less time on the sofa watching TV, or whether it means, in addition to your already amazing fitness routine that you have going. Travel opportunities, of course, there's lots of travel opportunities, and the social connections that we talked about earlier are really an awesome thing. And you may have never experienced them before. So, it's, again, just, push forward and give it a shot. Because the common thread of pickleball, as I mentioned earlier, creates connections which form deep and lasting friendships. The social aspects will enrich your life in ways you never realized you needed. And the sport itself keeps you healthy and happy. So pickleball creates opportunities to live your life with zest. You can custom fit and suit to your particular abilities, hopes, and goals. So take action, and you will likely experience life-changing results, and embrace and enjoy this journey. That's my summary.
I don't think there's a better spokesperson for pickleball than you, and you've summarized that beautifully.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today on Community Connections. Please tune in to our next show as more amazing people share their wonderful stories. If you haven't already, please click on the red subscribe button below, right down there, and view our updates. Feel free to leave any thoughts or comments that you may have. We're always trying to do a better job of connecting this wonderful community. Thanks again for joining. And until next time, keep connecting. Thank you.
Voila!
Voila!
It's as good as it's going to get.
It looks great.